Oh, hi! Hey guys, it's Maggie, and oh my god, am I excited for this video. So I feel like even if you know me just a little bit, you know how obsessed I am with conspiracy theories and true crime case and all that type of creepy stuff. A case that really captivated me and the rest of America is the JonBenet Ramsey case. In today's video, I am going to be talking about the suspects for who killed JonBenet Ramsey and going over why they're considered suspects, but the holds in why they can't be 100% determined as JonBenet's killer. Now, of course, you're going to need to know about the JonBenet Ramsey case in order to follow along with this video. I'm going to link two videos down below, both by Kendall Ray. First of all, we gotta start with the Ramseys. I mean, she was discovered in the house. They're gonna be the #1 suspect. In the Ramsey family, there was Patsy the mom, John the dad, Burke the 9-year-old older brother to JonBenet, who was 6 years old at the time of the murder, which was December 26, 1996 in Colorado. The Ramsey family has always claimed that they had no involvement in the killing of their daughter. However, they say that it was an intruder, but there were no obvious signs of a break-in. They live in Colorado, and it was around Christmas time, so it was snowing, but there were no signs of any footprints. Although there was snow in the front of the house, in the back of the house there was actually no snow, so somebody could have come up from there. There was pineapple found in JonBenet's stomach that was recently eaten, and why would an intruder give her pineapple? Now, if you're wondering why that is evidence against them and she couldn't have just eaten the pineapple, is their story is they came home from the Christmas party that they were at that night with JonBenet sleeping in the car, and she went straight to bed. So it wouldn't have made sense for her to eat pineapple shortly before the murder, because she would have been asleep. However, the pineapple could have been eaten shortly before she fell asleep, so there's really not a ton of evidence, but it's just something that is very strange and will come later in a theory that we're going to talk about in a minute. The biggest thing against the Ramsey family is this ransom note. Now, you can go read the ransom note yourself. For literal movie quotes in it, like this person that wrote the ransom note clearly did not know what they were doing. The actual ransom amount was the amount that John had gotten from his Christmas bonus, which is strange in itself that they would know the exact amount that he was getting for his bonus that year, because that would mean that it would have to be someone that knew him, unless it was just a giant coincidence, which wouldn't really make sense, because you gotta keep in mind the Ramsey family is very wealthy, and it wouldn't have made sense for them to go for a small amount. Why wouldn't they just go for the million? That was also the exact amount that they had in their bank account at the time. The ransom note that claimed to kidnap JonBenet Ramsey was signed SBTC, and people still haven't 100% figured out what that meant, but we have an idea of what it might mean, and we'll talk about that later. The absolute strangest part of this ransom note, besides the content of it, was that the paper that it was written on was proven to be from a notebook in the Ramsey's kitchen. If someone were to come in and kidnap or kill a child, why would they write a ransom note in the kitchen using their paper and pen? If you're just trying to be in and out quick, you wouldn't sit down to write a 2.5-page ransom note. The police came. They let all of the neighbors and the family search the house and completely contaminate the crime scene. So John was sent looking around the house, and he was the one that discovered her body, which was pretty strange that he knew where it was, but I don't think that is something that's super against them, because he did look in the basement, which is one of the first places I would look if I were looking for a body. When he did see his daughter lying there, he actually picked her up and moved her. If he were to be the one that would kill her, it would be really smart to pick her up, so if they did find any of his DNA, he could have just said that it was from picking her up. Another interesting theory that would prove the Ramseys to be the killers of JonBenet was she had a pretty bad bedwetting problem that would drive the parents ballistic. The theory goes that she wet the bed that night, and they went a little too harsh on their punishment and may have accidentally killed her and then just finished the job off. Her cause of death was actually she was hit over the head with something very heavy and then was strangled, which is how she ultimately died. It would make sense that they unfortunately hit her over the head to punish her, and then she passed out, and maybe they thought that she died and they wanted to cover up their tracks, so they just strangled her and put her in the basement. Another reason to believe that it might have been the Ramseys is Patsy was actually wearing the same clothes that she was wearing the night before. So wouldn't it make sense that she was just so busy trying to cover it up that she didn't even have time to change her clothes? More evidence to prove that it was not an intruder is there was a damaged basement window, but there were cobwebs around the window that were unharmed, leading people to believe that the window was damaged before. Although there's a special done on the JonBenet Ramsey case where they showed how easy it would have been to break into a window similar to the ones that the Ramseys had, and they had spider webs around the window, and the person doing it did not damage the spider web, so it is possible that that was an intruder, but I do think that's a little strange that there were undamaged cobwebs around the broken window. John actually claimed that he broke that window earlier and that the robber must have gone through that window, but it's just a little strange that a family like that wouldn't get it fixed.
The fun fact is how he said that he broke it is because they got locked out of their house.
Now let's talk about the theory that I honestly think could totally be the answer to this whole thing, and that has the least holes in my opinion. Burke was obviously JonBenet's older brother, who was 9 years old at the time, and he was actually noted to be quite aggressive. Before this incident, he had actually hit JonBenet with a golf club. And it's not uncommon for siblings to fight, especially around that age. And if I had a heavy object when I was fighting with my siblings, I'm not gonna lie, I would probably hit them with it too. He has been pretty silent throughout this whole time, except for recently, but his interviews just rubbed me the wrong way.
I remember the casket was small and her eyes were closed. I think one of her eyes was a little bit like droopy or something. I thought that was weird.
This theory goes that when they got home from the Christmas party, Patsy had made both of the kids a bowl of pineapple. On the bowl of pineapple in the kitchen, only Patsy and Burke's DNA was on it, not JonBenet. It's believed that Burke was in the kitchen eating the pineapple when JonBenet went in, and she might have reached like this, like here's the bowl, and she reached like that, so her DNA wouldn't have been on it. And Burke got mad at her for eating his pineapple, and he took a flashlight that they had in their kitchen and hit her over the head, knocking her out. That would not only explain the pineapple in her stomach, but the hit to her head. Now the parents freaked out. She was passed out, but they might have thought that she was dead, and they didn't want to lose two children. So they just finished the job off and made up this big elaborate plan. That would explain how the ransom note was written in their house and why Patsy was wearing the same clothes. There was also duct tape over JonBenet's mouth when she was discovered that had fibers from Patsy's sweater on it. Now the evidence that would prove that the Ramseys did not kill JonBenet. This part is going to get a little bit graphic, so if you are triggered or disturbed by sexual assault or rape, I would just fast forward a little bit. Upon examining her body, it was discovered that she was raped with the wooden part of a paintbrush. Oddly enough, this paintbrush was actually from Patsy's hobby box. So if they were trying to just cover up Burke's tracks and make this look like it was somebody else, why would they sexually assault her? I just realized I forgot to include this in the video, but a sign of sexual abuse in children is bedwetting, especially children over 5, and JonBenet was 6. So, just another piece of evidence to prove that this theory might be correct. Another thing that is proving that maybe it wasn't the Ramseys is there was actually unknown DNA underneath her fingernails and on her underwear. Now I'm thinking maybe this could have been from the Christmas party before. Maybe she was sitting on someone's lap. Someone else who also believes that the Ramseys did it is the housekeeper Linda. She claimed that Patsy had multiple personalities and totally would have killed JonBenet. The only problem with this is the doctors that were monitoring her for cancer probably would have picked up on mental problems, but not necessarily, and I guess the housekeeper would probably be close to the family and know about this, so I think she is a pretty credible source. Some people actually think that Linda could potentially be a suspect because, you know, she's a housekeeper, she knows the layout of the Ramsey home, she would have had access to all of the information, but I just don't think there's enough evidence against her to put her on the suspect list. The next person that we're going to be looking at is the Santa from the party the night before and family friend Bill McReynolds. There is so much evidence against him and he is just such a creepy guy. So yes, he was the Santa the night before at the Christmas party that the Ramseys had gone to, and something weird that happened there is he actually gave JonBenet a note that said, "You will receive a special gift after Christmas." I think it would have made a lot of sense for him to go in, maybe even dressed in a Santa outfit. JonBenet would have trusted him. He's Santa. He's also a family friend. Super, super weird considering that she was found the day after Christmas. JonBenet had given him a little vial of glitter which he carried around everywhere, and he said that it had gotten him through his heart surgery and he wanted his ashes mixed with this glitter. He said that he had felt closer to the 6-year-old than his own children or grandchildren. Speaking of his children, his daughter was actually kidnapped 20 years earlier, almost to the exact same day that JonBenet was killed. Interestingly enough, Bill's wife actually wrote a play about a girl that was kidnapped, molested, and killed in the basement. Bill also had a really strange son named Jesse. He had no alibi on the night of the murder and actually had been to jail for conspiracy, robbery, and kidnapping. But with all of these intruders, you always go back to that ransom note. Why would he write the ransom note in the house? Let's talk about another really, really weird guy, Gary Olivia. He was a local convicted sex offender that had actually been seen in the area around the house. Like Bill McReynolds, he was obsessed with the 6-year-old child. Years earlier, he had gone to jail for the rape of a 7-year-old. He had actually written a poem to JonBenet Ramsey and had a shrine for her after she was killed, saying that the murder deeply affected him. He even had her face on Monopoly money. In March, a tip came in that he had called a friend the night of her murder, saying that he had felt really bad and had done something to a little girl. 4 years later, 2 weeks before Christmas, he was arrested at Colorado University for trespassing, and in his backpack, he had a photo of JonBenet Ramsey, a stun gun, and a note to her. The interesting thing about the stun gun is actually there was a mark on her face that the family believes was from a stun gun, so this could have been the one used in the murder. Also in 2016, he was arrested on charges of child pornography, so this is just some creepy guy that might have gone in and raped her and murdered her just because of how mentally insane he was. But then again, we go back to the ransom note. Our next suspect is freelance journalist Chris Wolf. Chris's girlfriend actually said that he stormed out of the house on Christmas night and came back the next day covered in mud. At JonBenet's funeral, Bill was actually very hostile towards Patsy. Was this because he knows that she did it or because he felt guilty about it? He became angry at all the coverage of JonBenet. He also had a sweatshirt with the letters SBTC, which stood for Santa Barbara Tennis Club, but interestingly enough, those were the letters that were at the bottom of the ransom note. Speaking of the ransom note, he actually wrote an article about John Ramsey and his company, and he would have known the amount that the bonus was for. He was also a friend of Bill McReynolds, which leads me to think maybe it wasn't one person, but several. He also sued the Ramsey family when he was mentioned in their book about the whole situation, which labeled him as a suspect. I don't know, just a little bit sketchy that you leave your house on the night of the murder and come back all muddy. Just saying. The last person that we're going to be talking about is John Mark Karr, who actually admitted to killing JonBenet. This man was obsessed with the case and actually was an expert on it. Now, there's not much to say about him because police found that he was actually not involved in the case at all. When police were tracing back emails sent on that day, they discovered he was actually in Thailand teaching at an elementary school, which is super creepy considering that he admitted to killing a child. There was also none of his DNA found on the crime scene. You know, honestly, with all of these, it just goes back to that ransom note. It's just so strange, and the whole paintbrush is really strange too. There's just so much of this case that doesn't make sense. I feel like just when you think a theory starts to make sense, there's some type of hole. You know, I really don't know what I believe. I think right now, at least, but I'm always changing the theory that I feel is the strongest, but I think the Santa one is really strong. I think that totally could have made sense, although there's the ransom note again, so maybe the Burke theory, but it's just, I don't know. I'm just completely obsessed with this case, and I'm always interested in the new information that comes out about it because this case is still talked about all the time. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this week's video. Make sure to give it a big thumbs up and comment down below who you think the strongest suspect is. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for new videos every Monday and click that little bell down there to be notified whenever I upload. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Monday with another new video. Bye!